First category is contemporary artistic. Rose by Jane LaRue, Gould.
Okay, Kathy, you go.
This is lovely. What I really love about this image, and a well-deserved goal, Jane. What I love about this image is that although you've got the softness and the blurry around the end of this nice dark background, I like the fact that the eye goes straight into the center of the rose, because that part of the rose is nice and sharp, and there's definition and there's form, and that is as the true rose. And as it spreads out, as the photographer zoomed out to get this lovely effect, it got more and more blurred, and it's very nice. Well done.
Dreamy Summer by Paul Ellis, Gould.
Oh, well, lovely image, Paul, and I particularly like the softness that you have here. It's sort of almost diffused, and then the important part that you have the butterfly that actually stands up and really pops. This is the type of image that you can basically split in two. If you crop out the bottom two flowers, you will have an image as well. So well captured, well presented.
Soft Light, 5 stars, silver.
I love the very soft colors and the pastel tones in this image. I love what the author tried to do with this as well. And I think this is what the artistic category is all about. So I have to say well done on it.
Next category is macro. Little green grasshopper doing something, 5 star, silver.
I had to chuckle when I read the title. So I love the fact that this little green grasshopper, because this is a real juvenile, is so sharp right all the way through. That is so beautifully done. And then of course you've got these almost diagonal lines underneath that the little grasshopper is sitting on. I think possibly how you could improve this, just a little bit lower down, you would have had less of that stripy leaf at the background and focused more on the little grasshopper. So next time, just change your angle slightly and try a few other diversions to your image and just see what you come up with. But nice.
Looking at you, 4 star, silver.
Well, I like the close-up and of the insect. It's normally as people try and get the whole insect in, and that spoils it. So a close-up like this brings one right to the important part, and that's the face and the eyes. So that I like a diagonal, and I think that's something that everybody should strive for, is rather than have it just a straight level face, have it slightly angled. That adds to the composition. In this case, I think the highlights on the eye, those 2 white spots, is the one that really spoils it a bit, and that's something that you could easily control with a diffuser, and you could maybe even try in Lightroom, for instance, and maybe just tone it down a bit. Also, just a word of advice is that if you look at the image in total, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, there's some area that you could have cropped out quite comfortably, and as such, bring the focus back to the insect. I particularly like a funny little, I don't know if it's an eye or a dot right on the top of the head that may be confused for a while, but well done.
Orange Fly by Elizabeth Gould.
I think a very well captured image, Elsie. You got the fly perfectly sharp from the head right to the tips of the wings. I think it's also very nicely exposed. Maybe what just could have been improved in this image is that if you went in a lot closer, if you actually got closer to the fly, or maybe cropped in a bit more, you would have taken out or we'd see less of the background. And because the background is not clean, it tends to be a little bit competitive with the fly. But I think you've done a brilliant job with the actual capture of that fly. Well done.
Fly on Green Leaf, also by Elsa B. Gould.
Oh, well done, Elsa B. You obviously are enjoying your macro images, and it's great because we haven't had many macro in our club for a while. So I want to encourage you to continue. One of the reasons why this image got this gold is not only, as Larissa had said, that you've got this lovely sharpness and exposure that is so well done throughout, but I particularly enjoyed this diagonal line. So this time, even though you have got quite a lot of background, it's not distracting so much anymore as it's actually leading the eye in, which is really super. Just on the edge of the leaf, you've got quite a bit of white there. Just, I don't know what you could do there. Maybe you could just brush over it a bit, pull your highlights down and brush on that area, because the eye does want to go a little bit. I don't know, I haven't got my pen to show you. Akash, can you show us that line there on the top of the leaf? Yes, there. You can just give that a little brush, maybe with a minus highlight or something. That you could consider entering these in salons.
Next category is monochrome. Wet Hair Day by Sue Gould. Gold.
Well done, Sue. What I particularly like is that I like the separation of the lion and its background, and it really makes it pop out and all that. Lovely tonal range. You're going from all the important bits of the greys and the darker greys and the whites, and then obviously the blacks if you look around the eyes. What I really liked was the expression on its face, and then the detail in the eyes, and that just holds you. And so you've process is very well, and I enjoy this image. Well done.
White Kingfisher by Bori Gould.
Well done on this image. This is a beautiful image, and of course it lends itself really nicely to the conversion, because you've got a very good tonal range. The bird is sharp, in focus, and I think what's the nicest thing about it is that background. The background lends a very beautiful mood, because it's so diffused, and it's got the grays and whites in it, but not overpowering. It's beautiful. Well done, Laurie.
King Prize Racing by Henry Gould.
Oh, nice one. I like the fact that you converted this one to mono, because I think the road leading up and all that might have been a bit distracting, and now the eye goes straight to the biker. But of course, I think you can all see what gave this image the gold is the face, those eyes looking through the visor. It's just wonderful, because that is where your eye goes. And in PJ, all these things, sports photography, everything, they really want to identify the sports person or the biker or the racer, and you can certainly do it with this one. Well done.
Next category is nature.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations to the author in capturing this animal. They're so elusive, and when you see them, you better be ready and take the photo. So, even though the lighting conditions weren't ideal, I think that the exposure was still well handled, considering the temperature outside. If anything, the tree really does compete with the animal. So, and I know that's what you had in there, but as it is right now, you just have a block. So the eye is on the third closest to the edge and looking out. So if anything, probably have less shoulder and a tighter crop that way, and bring the eye more into a more prominent position and lessen the effect of the tree on the side. But as it is, I think you managed very well.
Jacana Jive, 4-star, silver.
Jacanas are such lovely birds, and those long toes are always an attraction. So you got it in a beautiful pose, and I think you were the angle of this image is what you could have actually used, or you changed your angle to use it to your advantage. I think the image would have had a lot more impact had you had went down a little bit lower. Looking down on this jacana, unfortunately, doesn't do justice. I can see the foot, but it's not sufficient in terms of impact. And then the background is a bit busy and distracting. And I think that is actually what earned you your silver. When photographing birds, it's always a great idea to try and get the eyes, or actually any animal, because it just has way more impact when we're able to see a face or an eye.
Mummy watching over her child, 5-star, bronze.
Well, I like the story behind here. The fact that you have this little baby giraffe, and then this lovely curve of the giraffe's neck as it's obviously watching over the giraffe. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought somebody said they can't hear me. I would like to recommend that this image would probably have had far more appeal with a different crop. I don't think the square crop really adds value, because if you look at the line of the giraffe's neck, if you look at the line of the water, the line of the mud, it's all moving in a rectangular format. So rather keep that line so that you've got a rhythm going in your image, and then the line of the water and all that will lead you closer into the little giraffe and all that, and it will give you more impact. The image does also appear a little bit soft. I think it might have been quite a big crop this.
My visitor, 5-star, bronze.
Yeah, I think it's a pity getting a portrait of a giraffe, like I said, with the added interest of the bird, really makes for a different picture. So if, I like particularly that the exposure on the giraffe has actually helped it separate from the green in the background, and the fact that you have the bird, as I said, on there just adds to it. However, the focus is really what's let this image down. I think it would have been a little bit sharper. It would have given you a completely different result. So why it's not focused, I suggest that maybe you just have a re-look at your setup, maybe look at your shutter speed, aperture, etc., and to see where the fault lies. But certainly, if this had been sharper, it would have been a great image.
Next category is nature wildlife. Bloodied, master bronze, silver.
Lovely subject, lovely image. I personally like the way the foot frames the lioness's head. I think it was like really a lovely sighting, and I can imagine how exciting it must have been for you to sit and watch this. In this image, the background is what steals from the actual lioness, the coloring on the lioness. And then, of course, because you have the sunlight hitting the grass behind and you have all those little white blown outs, it has unfortunately just taken away from the main scene. I personally think perhaps if you went in on a much tighter crop again, once again trying to lose some of that background, this picture can still be rescued.
Water Dragon, 4-star, silver.
Yes, what I like about this image is that so often when these water dragons that are photographed, you definitely take them from above. So this author managed to get reasonably low, and that is lovely because you're almost on eye level, and that's giving you this lovely detail and texture and all that sort of thing. There's a little bit of distracting elements sort of on the side and the background, and that is the only reason I think why it was marked down. And those you can work on. You can either crop them out, or you can go into Lightroom. You can use your brush. You can brush it out slightly. There's a myriad of things you can do. You can use your radial filter down on the left-hand corner, pull it down to darken it a bit, so that you get it the same sort of like darkness as your right-hand corner, and therefore the eye, because the eye should rest just on that beautiful texture in the eye, but it's not. It's actually going to that out of focus tail and the very, very green and the blown highlights. So be careful about that.
Climbing High by Sandy, Gould.
Lovely image, Sandy. Well captured. These little animals are so quick and skittish. So the fact that you've got it captured doing something with a background that doesn't interfere, in fact, just enhances the image. I particularly like the depth of field that you managed to achieve here. It is sharp and in focus. So I think this is an image that you could actually tilt to the left and have it on a horizontal plane, and it would probably be as good, if not better, than the presentation as it is. So I think you handled this very well. Well done.
Curious Pup by Sue, Gould.
Oh, this is a beautiful image, Sue. Pin sharp. You were fortunate enough, even though you got a bit of side and backlighting, that you have enough light on the face of this pup as well. You got a nicely diffused background, and the crop is beautiful. So you look straight into this pup's eyes. It's pin sharp and it's got a lovely glint in it. Well done. Nice image.
At the Waterhole Etosha, Master Bronze, silver.
Yes, I just love the action of this image. Plenty of water splashing around, the giraffe sort of like being an audience to this. So super. I think the only thing that distracted from this image, that it didn't get a high mark, that it appears a little bit flat, and there's not too much you can do about it because I think it was taken in very harsh light. If you look at the shadows underneath the giraffe, they're completely retracted, so it looks as the sun was almost above. But you can work with this. If you play with your levels, you can get a lot more impact. Sometimes you can do the same thing with your contrast. So use levels, try that first, and then curves, and see if you can just get a bit more impact, because the action here is fantastic.
Bird on a Stick, Master Bronze, silver.
Well, first of all, I think what makes this image very strong is the fact that there is no background that would compete with the bird. I think that is a great composition you managed to achieve there. The focus on the head is I find it's acceptable. I like the detail that you see on the feathers. However, the darks, I think maybe you could have lifted that a little bit and maybe crop off a little bit of the base at the bottom and remove some of the trunk. It really is quite prominent on the image.
A Big Thirst, 3-star silver.
Once again, an interesting capture, a very different angle, I have to say, of photographing. And the fact that you have the little oxpecker there also really does make the interest, increase the interest of the image. I think the crop on this image is probably too tight. Maybe if you had just re-looked at how you would crop the image, and maybe just have a look at your exposure on the actual rhino itself. It tends to lean towards slightly overexposed. Maybe if it was slightly, if you pulled back a little bit on your exposure, maybe go -1 or even -1/3 or something like that, it might have improved it. And then at the bottom, with the crop as well, just taking and removing those distracting elements, just using a crop would have obviously kept your eye on the actual subject itself.
Arida by Fan Gould.
Yes, I love this image, Fawn. Hodidas can be such a pest and they're so irritating. And I really look at them as worth photographing, although they do have the most wonderful shine and colours on their wings. And but Fawn, you got something different for a change, something we don't always recognise. I love the fact that the head is just coming out of the shadow of the wings. So your timing was perfect. With the feet peeping out, lovely glint in the eye, clear background, and that little bit of the tree just grounds it. It just shows it's like just taken off or whatever it is, or maybe about to land. It actually adds to the story. Nice one, Fawn.
Brown-hooded kingfisher by N. Gould.
Lovely image, and I think you've handled this perfectly. If you look at the background, diffused, dark, it actually makes a bird pop. The bird is not just sitting there, it's actually doing something. It's either calling for food or calling its mate or just swallowed something, but it's doing something, and that you've handled very well. Even the brightest part on that being the branches or the perch that it's sitting on, does not compete with the overall story. Well done, like the exposure, like the focus and the story. Well done.
Vulture at Kubichekwap by Kathy, Merit Award.
I think this is a stunning image, Kathy. I love the fact that you got this. It's always very difficult when you're photographing vultures because of their wingspans. You generally cut off some part of it or the other. So the fact that you got this so perfectly in symmetry with its opened wings is wonderful. And I think the prize is definitely that lovely diffuse background and the wonderful coloration in the background as well. So really well done. Lovely image.
Ground hornbill close-up by Ian Gould.
Yes, this image the exposure is perfect. The focus is perfect. I mean, everything is sharp. So 10 out of 10. Lovely background, all that sort of thing. If you have a little bit more in and you cropped, I would leave just a tiny little bit in front of the beak if you're going to enter it in a salon, because I know these judges tend to like to have a little bit of space in front of the animal or the bird that it's looking into. So just recrop it if you do have some space and enter it in the salon, you will do very well.
Beetle Takeaway by Gould.
Oh, well done, Jacques. What a striking image to capture the bird in flight with a very unusual prey, a beetle. It took me a while to try and work out what it was, I don't think anybody would. I haven't heard of anybody seeing that type of capture. So well handled. The exposure as usual with your images is spot on. It is sharp and it's clean and well-deserved gold.
Intense by Malcolm, Merit Award.
Oh, I seem to be having all the easy ones right now. Malcolm, this is a stunning image. First of all, I love how the wings actually frame the face of the bird. And I think what makes it is the fact that it is so pin sharp, and in that very muted coloring, you have this blue, and and a magnificent image. You've captured this so beautifully. Well done.
Balance by Michelle, Gould.
What I like about this image, Michelle, is that it's so different to the ones that we normally see of these little black cracks. They're normally scurrying along on the mud on the ground or in amongst the reeds. And because of that, you can see the beautiful detail in the feet and the claws. And of course, it elevated it a bit. So you're not taking it from above. It's brought itself more up to your level. So you are looking at it straight on and seeing the eye and seeing the feet with this beautiful lead in muted background. A really nice image. Well done.
Sorry, if I can just comment on this image, Michelle, maybe we should just actually go and play a little bit with the saturation or the color of the image. I don't know if it's just on my computer screen, but I just think that you could pump up your saturation on it a little bit more, especially on the bird itself. But I don't know if the others are seeing the same thing that I am.
Yeah, I thought the feet weren't red enough. Normally the feet are pretty dark. Henry, do you agree?
Yeah, no, that's right. The saturation would improve that and enhance that and bring it out.
Yeah, definitely. Before you enter it in the salon, Michelle.
Twin Squirrels, 4-star, silver.
Well, first of all, well captured again. I just love these little critters, and you can sit for hours and watch it. So it's a different presentation again, inside the nest, peeping out, whether they're youngsters or a pair, doesn't really matter. So it's a great story. I think that what's let it down maybe a little bit is it's a little bit bright, and I would suggest maybe dropping it by a stop or so, just to pull back in your highlights and just make it less bright. And then maybe a little bit of sharpening, I think, can actually enhance it quite a bit as well. Because the one in the front is reasonably sharp and the other one is a little bit soft. So with a little bit of tweaking on your focus, I think you can bring that out, drop the highlights a bit, and you can actually have quite a strong image.
Obscured by the grassy cover, 4-star, silver.
This was quite a difficult image, I have to say, for me to judge, because I have a weakness for cheetahs. I haven't been fortunate enough to see many of them in the wild. So whenever I see cheetahs, I'm wowed by them. So my initial reaction was, wow, what a lovely image. but there's a few things that could be improved in this image. First of all, I think the exposure. So if you look at the cheetah that's yawning at the bottom, the one half or the one side of his face is completely and totally overexposed. So that in itself just kind of lets the image down. I also think the crop on the image, it's just too tight. So the amputation actually let it down. And I think this is one of those images, if you had just stepped a bit further away and captured the whole scene, it might have worked well for you. And then of course, with the cheetah lying low down in the grass, you have all this distracting grass that's blurred out in front. So I hope that you did take more images at the scene, because I think it was really lovely to have seen them in the wild interacting with each other. So I think go back, have a look at your exposure issues, and maybe just never such tight crops, or like I say, I hope you've taken a few further away.
Precarious Landing by Henry, Gould.
Oh, Henry. Oh, lovely. So I didn't think that you took this image, because it's such an unusual image and so different, and a well-deserved gold. What's so stunning about this image, of course, is the exposure. Oh, it's beautiful, and the colors and the lovely muted background. But of course, it's different. This is completely a lilac breasted roller. Doesn't normally look like this, as we know. You usually see the wings outspread, and that tail with those like two long thready things normally virtually come together and stretch right out behind. So most unusual image, Henry. Really like it.
Henry, can I just make a suggestion here? This is an incredible image in terms of action, and like Kathy said, so unusual. I would suggest that you take this image and maybe have a look at your mid-tone levels. I think if you just went and played with that a little bit, you'll probably get a lot more pop on the bird. The bird just looks a little bit dark, and I from my own experience, I think whenever I've had a situation like this and I went and played a little bit with my levels, I normally got a lot more pop on the bird. So have a look at that.
Thank you.
A Little Wet, Master Bronze, Silver.
Well, first of all, it's a great capture of a very shy bird, and it looks a little bit wet and bedraggled, and so it tells a story. However, the background does really compete with it in so many ways, and possibly in Lightroom you can, as I know Kathy advocates using a radial filter, you can pull that around the bird, and you can sort of pull back on the background, invert it or pull back on the background and all that, and then maybe make it less of an issue. So possibly a tighter crop around it by removing some of the background could have enhanced it. But other than that, the bird, not ideal lighting conditions, but still well exposed and sharp around the face. Well,
Bird Bath by Jonathan, Gould.
This is a very unusual image. I've never seen a bird look. Yeah, it looks like really, really lovely, Jonathan. And I think the fact that you got it pin sharp, and the fact that it's got both dark and lights on it, you've done a really good job. I think the only distraction in the image is that, and I'm assuming that this was like at a river or something, that cut between the river and the bank kind of separates the image a little bit. And I think that's the only thing. I'm not really sure how you would work on it. But, you know, Kathy has often said, go back and look at, you know, toning down the brights, and maybe that would improve it drastically. But as presented, a lovely image.
Free Ride by Sandy, Gould.
Nice one, Sandy. I know where you took this. That was at Sunset Dam, I'm sure. And those grey herons are absolutely amazing hitching rides on those hippos. And well done, because your exposure is good. You've got both your hippo and your heron really, really nice and sharp. And although there's movement in the water, it's nice and muted, so it enhances the image. It actually adds value. It doesn't distract at all. Well done.
The stalker, master bronze, silver.
Well, I like the diagonal. I like the movement of the leopard into the frame, and also must be complimented on that. The background, although a little bit distractive, doesn't really worry me. I do have a problem with the focus on the face, and maybe the eyes. The eyes seem to be, and I might be wrong here, but it almost appears that they have been brightened up a bit, and they look unnatural in this case. So if that's the case, that you did do something on the eyes, maybe try and tone them down a bit. But as it is, they just appear white rather than yellow, which they should be.
Leopard leaving the 13th waterhole by Kathy, Merit Award.
Wow, Kathy, this is really an unusual leopard shot. I mean, you were just so lucky to have seen this, and even so in such amazing light. So, was this at the golf course at Skukuza?
No, this was taken in Kalahari.
Oh, wow.
Near Marta, yes.
Oh, lovely. Absolutely stunning.
But yeah, leaving the 13th. Oh, of course, no. It was actually the 13th borehole.
Okay, so I thought, was this a golf course? Is that why you're calling it that? But pins sharp, the action is incredible. The only advice that I would give you, and I'm not sure how you're going to do this in terms of the crop, is if you could just crop differently to get rid of that little bit of the distraction. To be honest, it doesn't take away from the image at all. It is so muted, and because the lighting on this leopard is so beautiful, you just go straight to it. But I guess if you had to enter it in the salon or whatever, they could be a bit picky, but it's an incredible image. Well done.
Thanks, Narissa. I did tilt it to get rid of the background, but then the water was running down. You've got the lines of the water. So
but the water is so diffused, you even pick that up.
Yeah.
Home with the Grove by Malcolm, Gould.
Well done, Malcolm. To spot this with the grub in its mouth, busy going to feed the chicks on it is really great. If you look at the detail on the feathers, you can see all the details throughout. In the dark feathers, the lighter feathers, there's nothing overexposed. It is perfect on the bird. If I can make a suggestion, I think, is that in this case here, the bark actually does compete with the image. And I think you could possibly lose about half of the bark on the left-hand side, still maintain a decent crop or aspect ratio, and that will actually just place more emphasis and more attention to on the actual bird itself.
A Twinkle in My Eye by Michelle, Gould.
Lovely image, Michelle. Beautiful muted background. I think your crop is very clever as well. The bird is pin sharp. once again, my suggestion would be, in this case, I think maybe you could just have a look at your exposure, maybe pull down a little bit on the highlights, because the image does seem a little bit bright. It could just be the brightness, it could be a few things, but I think there is some room for you to just go in and look at your post-processing. But it's a lovely image, lovely pose, the background is beautiful, good job.
Top of time, 4-star, silver.
Oh yes, what a beautiful scene, and how lucky you are to be across the other side of the dam or the river and seeing this amazing troop of elephants come down, babies and everything, and drink. So fabulous, lovely, and I just love the action, love the movement. So why not a gold? Because it is so beautiful. I think the only thing that distracts about it, I think that the light was a bit harsh, and in your attempt to add impact and oomph in that, it just appears to be oversaturated. There's background behind the elephants that is so yellow and so bright and so green that it actually competes with the elephants. And that is such a pity, because your background must add value to your main subject. It actually shouldn't take the attention away. So if you worked on that background, maybe with, I'm not sure, it depends on who the author is, but most of you do use Lightroom. You could just pull a radial filter down, or you could go into your luminous, and you could reverse a bit of the yellows and the greens and just mute them a bit. It'll make a huge difference to the image.
Hasty Retreat by Henry, Gould.
Oh, incredible action, Henry. I just love the softness of this image as well. Even though they're vultures, you've managed to add some sort of nice dreamy appeal in your photography. The background is beautiful as well. Once again, I don't know if it's just what I'm seeing on my screen, but I think you could pull back on the exposure a little bit. It seems a little bit bright. If you look at the vulture on my right, the chest looks a little bit bright on it. And I think maybe if you just pull back, either on the highlights or the exposure, you could probably get it. And I think it would have like a little bit more contrast to it as well. So well done.
Thank you.
On the Lookout by Rona, Gould.
Okay, you should take it.
Oh, sorry, is it me? Oh, lovely. Yeah, you are. Yes, you're a cheater again, Narissa. You should be critting this. You actually all love cheaters. Yes. It's a story behind this that made this image stand out, and the fact, of course, that the sharpness, the exposure, everything else, and the beautiful eyes and all that, becomes a focus of attention, because that's the sharpest. The rest of it becomes quite muted with the background. So it's a well-processed image, and a lovely stance. Lovely to see the cheetah. She's obviously hunting.
On Your Marks by Malcolm, Gould.
Well, I just love this image, Malcolm. It is so, it's a high key background, and with a light colored bird in it, and it just works beautifully. If you look at the whites on the legs, under the wings and all that, it's perfectly handled. Movement in the wings. You have the eyes pin sharp, the false beak sticking out. Just look at the talons. It is just a stunning image. It's something I'd like to hang in my wall somewhere. Well done.
Next category is pictorial. Once Upon a Time by Sandy, Gould.
An interesting image, Sandy. It's always lovely when you see these old buildings and they've got all of these interesting things lying around. I think you did a good job in capturing it. My feeling on it though is I wish that there had just been something in it that would hold the eye. So there seems to be like some sort of farming implements or something like that around it, and they seem to have like a reddy rusty color. So maybe if one of them had just popped, and because this is pictorial, you could go in and you could do quite a bit of post-processing and enhancing and saturating and that. So it's an interesting image, just as I look at it, but I would still like someplace you explore and you see all this beauty in the building, in the old building, but I would like somewhere to just rest my eye.
Forest waterfall, 3-star, silver.
Yes, this is, I just love this play on green. And this is what you do get sometimes when you go deep into the forest. The greens and the textures, and oh, it's just lovely. And what I really like about this is that the shutter speed has been slowed down. So you've got that lovely, you can actually see the movement in the water. So the author hasn't frozen the water here. You've got the movement. The only thing that I think, that the only reason why this was marked down slightly, because one more point would have given it a gold, is that there's just not enough water. So maybe if you'd got a little bit closer or changed your angle and tried to get just a little bit more of that water, and if you look at the front with this lovely detail and the rocks and that, maybe climbing in there, or that little bit of waterfall sort of in the middle, and there's another one sort of behind. Focus on one of those and made that your center of attention. I hope you did. I hope you did. I hope you've got lots of these images.
After You by Jacques, Gould.
Well, Jacques, what a stunning image. It's a compliment in colors with the two bees. I don't know if anybody watched CNN. I do, and every now and then they have a break and they have 30 seconds of calm. And when I saw this image, that's what I thought. Just sit and feel the peace and the calmness. And well, I handled a great image.
I love this image.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've got these two bees looking at each other kind of thing.
That's a stunning image.
Red and Yellow by Karine, Gould.
I love the colors in this image, Karine, and the fact that you've got this almost translucent look through the flower. I'm assuming that your lighting was also pretty much from the back. It's also got this very high key feel to it, and you've done this really well. I personally would have just liked to see a slightly different crop on it. That green leaf, maybe completely eliminating it, or maybe adding a little bit more of it, or maybe curling it in some other way in the image, for me would have just made this, would have increased the impact on this image. But as presented, it's really a beautiful image.
Elephant Bull Bringing Up the Rear by Toy, Gould.
Yes, this is an unusual take on one of arguably our most favorite of all animals. Toy, I actually like the way that you've played around with this. The original image could just have been just another elephant, quite boring, but you've brought out the texture really, really nicely in this elephant, and you played around with your background, made it sort of almost like an old worldy style texturally, and it's definitely the sort of image that you would see printed on canvas or something like that, and you'd see them on in boardrooms and on office walls and stuff like that. So I like the route that you're taking with your creativity, Toy. So let's see more of this.
Champagne Castle, 3-star, silver.
Well, first of all, compliment the author in the composition. I like the fact that you try to get the reflection of the hills and the mountain in the background, and I think in that you achieved. I think two things I would do is, one, I would work on the focus a little bit. It does feel a little bit soft, talking about the background. And remember, with a portrait, with a landscape, you want to sort of focus a third in, and then get everything behind will sort of fall into focus. If anything else, I would actually drop back some. So the skyline, I would crop about half of that out, because the reflection in the water is more pleasing than the blank sky in the background. So give it a try and see if it will enhance the image.
The Serengeti Plains by Jacques, Gould Award.
I absolutely love this rich orange tones in this image, and the fact that you just have these wildebeest, I'm assuming, and it's very seldom that people ever use wildebeest so interestingly in their images. That sky is beautiful, Jacques, and it just has like a very nice arty, fine art appeal to it. So really well done. I really enjoy this image.
Next category is photojournalism. Interviewing the King, Master Bronze, silver.
Yes, 10 out of 10 for the absolute clarity of the subjects. The focus, the exposure is absolutely incredible, and I love the muted background, so there's just no doubt that your eye will fall onto your two subjects. Just the only thing that I think let it down, and it didn't get quite such a high mark, is because there's not enough story here. What is happening, instead of one working out the story, which by the title you have told it's the king, is that your two figures on your left-hand side, in particular the one that's out of focus, it's drawing the eye away from your main subject. So perhaps to really enhance this image, I would have popped some more out. I would have popped out some of this. You could have had just your guy's face there in, or you could have cropped out the camera and just had the arm with a mic and the king, and it would have been such a in-your-face type of image. It's just worth trying it out and seeing what comes of it.
Next category is portrait. Girl in a Black Hat by Tim, Gould.
Lovely.
Well done in the Gould, Tim. This is that model that we've seen, and every time I look at her, I see a different version of her, and that's great. Perfect lighting. I must compliment you on that. There's no unnecessary shadows other than a little bit of hair shadow on the cheek and all that. But around the nose, the eyes, everything is spot on. I would suggest, and this is a personal thing, is that if you crop this image from the bottom up just above the bra line or the bust line, then I think it could make it stronger. If you look at the dress at the back there, there's a little blue and white sticker. I take it as a tag sticking out. Something like that would compete. The amputation on her left arm and elbow, you see there's a little bit of skin sticking out below the netting or the mesh there. Those are little traps that actually draws one's eye away from the important part, and that is the model's face and the eyes and the interaction between her and the photographer.
Watchful by Sue Gould.
Those intense eyes. I think what is really captivating in this image is those intense eyes. And I think this time around you did a great job by leaving out some of the, or having less of the background. So it's a beautiful image, well captured, lovely pose. I think just the little, and it's something that you can never avoid, but the little grass piece that was in front of the face is a little bit distracting, but as you've captured it, it's a stunning image.
But this is open. Isn't this still our open? So,
it's a portrait.
It's portrait, exactly.
Oh, portrait. Portrait you can manipulate. So, so you could really work on this image. You could get rid of some of the background and work on that grass and all that. You're allowed to manipulate. You could turn this into a masterpiece because it's beautiful.
Kiss Me, Master Bronze Silver.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry you only got a silver because I really love this image, and of the action, the angle, the hairstyle, the cape, there's just so much to love about this image. But of course, by the time you're in a master bronze, you have to have perfect. I personally, and I could be wrong, I think a crop would have saved this image instantly. If you just have cropped some of the bottom, it's unnecessary here. And a tiny little bit off that right bottom right there where it's a bit lighter and taking the eye away. Also in the landscape, just crop some of the bottom and some of the top, and suddenly everything would just lead straight to that beautiful face and those beautiful eyes.
Journey of Discovery by Ian Gould.
Well, what a beautiful little model. So captivating, just looking at those eyes, innocence, everything well portrayed. Yeah, look at the background. There's nothing to compete with the model. I like the diagonal in the eye. Perfect lighting. What more can I say? I just love this image. Well done.
Spur-Winged Goose Portrait by Michelle Gould.
Wow, Michelle, once again, a pin-sharp image, lovely background. The fact that you've got the mouth open and we can see all that detail in it as well actually enhances the image. And of course, you've done really well with the crop as well. Once again, my feeling on this is that you could go in and have a look at your contrast and your saturation a bit on this image, and I think it would definitely get the image to pop.
Model 4 by Derek, Gold Award.
I love this image. I just think it's such an unusual pose. I love the fact that you've got a light obviously from the back so that you've lit up this and it's made a halo around the face. And you've also got a light coming from the front so that you've got this beautiful heart shape, all the detail in the face sort of reflected. Just such an unusual portrait. It's just really appealing. Lovely. Some people might say they don't like the arms with those little bit of white arms sticking out either side of the t-shirt. You could eliminate that by cropping it a little bit tighter, but it doesn't worry me at all. To me, it balances this hairstyle that sticks out there. And there's a beautiful balance and symmetry in this portrait, which you don't see all that often. Stunning.
Backlit by Derek, Gold Award.
Oh, Derek, nice to see some great portraits coming through and get everybody all fired up and inspired. So what I like is I like the pose in it. And for those that are interested in doing portrait photography, especially when there's hands in play, if you look at the position of the hand against the face, the shape and the curl, that all complements the model, and that's what you should try and find. I particularly like the rim lighting on the hair. It just stands out and it frames the face in those eyes that are so captivating. And all that. Slight crit and something that I would look at seeing it out. I'm not quite sure how you would change in the particular image, but if you look at the her left arm at the bottom, that little bit of skin there does compete a bit. So I think it maybe a crop there could have just improved it, but that or you could tone it down. Right now, one's eye mine certainly keeps on going back here instead of staying on the face. But other than that, perfect lighting, well handled. Great to have you on board.
Model 2 by Derek, Gould Award.
Oh, lovely, lovely, Derek. We once again getting to see some really nice portrait work.
Oh, lovely.
I love that bokeh background and the backlighting on the model. And very much like Henry, I think that perhaps if you had just cropped a little bit and eliminated the skin at the bottom of this image, it would also have worked. However, I think what brought the mark down in this image was the very bright blown out highlight in the center of her head. So maybe if you could just work on that, or maybe pull down the highlights. It's really difficult when you're photographing into the sun, because that's what the sun does. But the image is absolutely stunning. The pose, the diagonal on her clothes, it's really a nice image.
Next category is Capes. Silky Water by Jane, Gould Award.
Oh, nice one, Jane. Lovely. The appeal in this image is the serenity and the calmness and that lovely, lovely time of the day that we all hanker for and would just love to be there, just sitting there, soaking it up. So lovely. Well done, Jane. I really like it.
Repeating Water Patterns by Fan, Gould Award.
Well, fun. I actually like the leading lines. If you look at the water trails, the lines sort of draws one's eyes to the background with the waves breaking and all that. So I think your shutter speed is perfect in this case. You don't overdo it, make it too long, so it actually blurs it out completely, makes it milky. And then if that happens, then one tends to lose the trails that we see in the foreground. Then I think what's added to this image is that you have this drama in the sky in the background, and I think it just holds the whole image together as one. Well done.
Sunrise Swimmer, 4-star, silver.
So I have to admit to the author that this image for me was a bit confusing. I can definitely see that this is an aerial shot, whether it was taken with a drone or whether you were sitting in some sort of aircraft or whatever, I'm not sure. It's obviously a very different perspective from what we get to see, but I felt that the image was a bit too busy. I'm not really sure what we were meant to be focusing on here, but I definitely lost it. And I also just think that oh, thanks, Akash. I think that the quality of the image is perhaps what would have led to it being marked down. Definitely, it lacks sharpness. It doesn't have sufficient contrast and kind of like a yeah, I think the impact, and maybe if there was like a really strong focal point, it would have really not mattered. The rest of it would have not mattered. But as presented, I think it's just, yeah, there's just too much going on.
Unbelievable storm in Nossel, Master Gould, silver.
All right. So, I can see by your face.
Henry, will you print it? Because that's my image.
All right. Well,
I can't print my own image.
yeah. So, I mean, it's absolutely, you have to be in the desert to experience storms like it and the wonder of it and all that. So you've managed to capture the drama in the sky beautifully, the sort of thunder clouds above you and all that. I think that the trees in the foreground actually spoil the image in that it blocks your view. I would like to see where the rain hits the sand or the riverbed in the back and the dunes and all that. And in this case, the trees are just too strong. If it had maybe been a silhouette of a dead tree or something like that, I think that would have added value. But certainly you've captured the sky and the storm beautifully.
Sunrise at Whale Deck Beach by Fan, Gould Award.
Okay, thank you. And we'll just skip because Henry took my place. Fawn, lovely. Well done. Fawn, you becoming an absolute master at your scapes. You're managing to capture moods and emotions, and you evoke feelings and stuff like that with your, and that is what makes a good landscape or seascape photographer. So well done. I love the lead-ins. I love the softness of that water over the sand as it moves, the detail, the sharpness. Your exposure is very good. The focus is excellent. Well done.
Next category is sport. Intense by Paul, Gould Award.
Henry, can I please ask you to comment?
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so again, nice capture, decisive moment. You got this guy just on touchdown or take off. I'm not quite sure. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. And what adds interest to this is that you have all the water droplets around it, and the I don't know what you call him, a pilot, but certainly the athlete, if you want to call it that, is perfect position in the format as presented and all that. I think that if you had maybe worked on the sharpening of this, it could have enhanced the image because it is a little bit soft, but the action and overall storytelling outweighs that negative.
South Coast Surfer, 5-star, silver.
Kathy?
Yes, what I really love about this image is the beautiful contrasting colors, that color of the water, and then lucky you to find a surfer with this beautiful red t-shirt. I mean, the two contrasting colors are so super. I like the action. I think the exposure is spot on. I like the fact there's a bit of light on his face. The position is just a little bit awkward, and you'll note in surfing, and if you look at all the surfing magazines, they tend to like the images where the surfer doesn't look awkward or uncomfortable, and he looks more in control. So maybe a split second later, as he flipped the board around and was turning, whatever. That is the only element that was slightly distracting here, and why I assume that he didn't get a high mark. Be careful of over sharpening, sorry. That's one of the reasons I marked it down. It's very, very highly sharpened, and you've got halos around the bum and around the t-shirt and all that. So just be very careful, try not to do that.
And on the leading leg, yeah.
And the thigh, there's lots of halo, there's a huge halo on the thigh. So you have to be very aware of that.
Going backwards, 1 star, silver.
Well, again, I must compliment the 1-star worker in capturing something like it and seeing it. The fact that there's guys flying backwards, the spray in the water tells you that's what's actually happening, that he's coming from the right, going backwards, going left and all that. So this is a shot that could actually work in photojournalism as well, rather than just sport. But I think the main problem in this case here is that the focus almost seems to be on the canopy of the parachute rather than on the guy hanging onto it. But well spotted and handled. Okay, just work on the focus.
Next category is the set subject. My pet. Not everyone's pet. Master bronze, silver.
This is definitely not anyone's pet or everyone's pet. I think you got this image really, really sharp. I love the fact that we can see every little hair on the spider. This image would have been greatly enhanced if we were able to actually see a face, eyes, something to show us that this was not a mop or a or whatever, but something living, and that we could interact with it. But the way it's captured, I mean, the fact that you got every single bit of detail on the spider, that was amazing. I think if you had just shown us the face somewhere in all of that, it would have definitely been an amazing image.
My beautiful cat, 5-star, silver.
This sure is a beautiful cat, and I absolutely just love this cat's eyes. Absolutely stunning. If it's your own cat, great, because you have got some amazing photo opportunities with this cat. So what unfortunately is a bit distracting in this image is that very, very busy background and the blown out highlights. So you could retake this image over and over again. It's at home. You could set up a background. There's so much that you can do, especially with eyes like this and a beautiful cat like this. So do remember, you love your cat. We feel love, but we also want this picture to pop, and it's not going to pop if you don't make sure that your background is muted and that it doesn't detract from the image.
Bossy, 1-star, silver.
Oh, shame. Those eyes, you want to go up and just cuddle this dog. It's really caught with its cookie, hands in the cookie jar or face in the sand. I think you've captured the moment. You've captured the feel and the story beautifully and all that. A couple of things that I think you can do to enhance this image. Being a set subject, you're allowed to do quite a bit more. So if you look at the black hose below its neck, that you can clone out and remove it because it does compete with the image. With the green in the foreground on the bottom left hand, you can do something about that by either toning it down or pulling back on the greens and that, or even cloning it out. Try and eliminate anything that will compete with the story you're trying to tell. So I think a tighter crop could have enhanced this image quite considerably. So just on the right-hand side, just past the ear, about halfway through the frame there, bring it in there, and at the bottom, and that could sort of, the fact that the eye's on the diagonal already makes it useful and strong when you want to do a crop and enhance the composition. You've got that right. Focus is not quite optimum, and I suggest you have a look at that again. Maybe just look at your shutter speed, look at your focusing spot, where you focus, and then work on that. But the fact that you've seen this and captured it, I compliment you on that. Well done.
Pipsqueak by Jonathan, Gould Award.
Oh, that's a lovely little pet, and I love the way you used the hands to frame it. Having this dark background also really helps because we see your pet. I just think that perhaps it was not necessary to leave that much of space, and you would have really got a much higher mark for that, because it's really an amazing image. So maybe that little a little tighter crop coming in closer to the hands and focusing right on the little face would have been amazing. But well done, Jonathan.
Beautiful image.
Mm.
Kind Eye by Sandy, Gould Award.
Yes, Sandy, this is the type of photograph that horse photographers go for. Well done. Really, it is an unbelievably good portrait of a horse because of the dark background. So you've worked so well with exposure, and so the whole attention is now going to the shape of the head, that eye. It is a beautiful image, and something, if it's your horse, Sandy, you must print it and frame it and hang it up, because people pay lots of money for horse portraits like this. Well done.
Lovely image.
Daisy, 5-star, silver.
Yeah. So the exposure on the face is well handled. The detail in the eye, sharp, sharp all the way down to its muzzle is great. I think in this case, this is the type of image could have done with the same treatment in the previous image, and it's not fair to compare the two, but it's also, I think, would be useful for the photographer to think about it, is that, remember, this is an open category. You can actually do a lot more with the background and enhance the portrait of the horse as you've got it. I don't know if the flowers around the head actually adds value to the image. If anything, to me, I find it a little bit distracting because it's almost too bright, and it's not in keeping with it. But there's a story to be told there, and maybe I'm just being doff here and I miss that. But certainly, I think that the makings of a good image there. It's just that the background certainly needs to be worked on.
My Best Friend, Master Bronze, silver.
I actually like the story behind this image. Your best friend has his best friend. And it's like really a nice story. I think perhaps I love the image, and I think perhaps what would have helped it have a better mark was maybe getting in like a lot closer and leaving out some of the blanket, because the blanket's busy and the coloration of the blanket and the dog kind of compete with each other. But I think if you perhaps went like much closer on the dog and his friend, even though it's two and your eyes go from one to the other, the dog is strong enough and has those beautiful sharp eyes that would have held your focus. Nice image.
Cat Cousins, 3-star, silver.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right. I absolutely, sorry, yes. I absolutely love this pose. It is one of the top star pet poses that you could get. This beautiful cat over its cousin, according to the thing with that curved tail that leads the eye all the way around, back again, and then underneath you've got this magnificent cat lying there, both of them staring at you, looking at you. Absolutely brilliant. The only reason why this image didn't get a merit, in my opinion, is just because the background is so bright and so distracting that it's actually taking the attention away from the cats. You can work on that. You really can. There's so much that you can do with that background. Even if you work in Photoshop, remember the course that we did with Ari, you can extract these cats and you can put another background behind them. If you don't like that route, you can just mute the background. You can use your brush and you can take away, minus the sharpening and all that sort of thing and the color and everything. Brush over the background. Get rid of those bright lights and that bright, because it is such a beautiful pose. If I were the author, whoever you are, I would work on this picture because it's a kind of picture that you want to keep and frame, because these two cats are so beautiful. So work on it.
Captain Morgan by Fan, Gould Award.
I think I can hear the parrot in the background.
Yeah. Great image, Fawn. I like what you've done with the background because it really just draws one's eye back to the bird. You have the red tail that just adds some more interest to it. But particularly, I like the detail that you managed to capture in the actual feathers and the face, light blue around the eye. So I think if you do a couple of things here, I would actually work on the perch or whatever it's sitting on. I would, so if you look where the sitting on these, they're coming in from the right, there's that sort of shiny bit there. I would tone that down because it does compete a bit. There's that little light trap underneath that section, right there on the bottom right-hand side, and also where the nut is on this chair. Just work on those colors there because it does draw one's attention away from the beautiful image that you've managed to capture with the bird.
Emma Ready to Pounce, 2-star, silver.
A lovely pose, and well done to the author for having gone down to get this. Your cat's eyes are incredibly beautiful. I think what you could have done, in my opinion, was just a different crop, maybe just tighter on the cat's face and left the out of focus body out. And the face does, while the eyes appear to be really sharp, the face does appear to be a bit soft. So the next time you attempt photos like this, it's lovely to get down at this level and capture the cat. Go in really close and just be very mindful of your f-stop so that you do get sufficient depth and sharpness on the image.
Daddy's Boy on the Beach, 5-star, silver.
Oh, Daddy's boy. What a pity. What a beautiful boy. I think he's Mommy's boy as well. What a beautiful dog. I love the colors. I love the texture. Background quite muted, not too bad. Unfortunately, just one thing about this image that brought the mark down is that the eyes are the most important. And these eyes are so dark and sort of like it just disappeared into this beautiful dog. And that is so easy to work on. You can just work on the eyes, just lighten them, bring some light in the eyes, some color into the eyes, so that your attention stays on the eyes. Very important.
My Beautiful Little Teller by Kathy, Gould Award.
Oh, well done, Kathy. Just look at those eyes. And again, I keep on harping about something having a diagonal. Here's a perfect example how that actually enhances and helps with the composition. The fact that you've blocked out the background, or you've played with the light in such a way that the background doesn't come into play, must compliment you on that. The fact that you've got this interaction between you and the dog, that's important, but the focus around those eyes is that what does it all for me. Well done. Lovely image.
Thank you.
I Never Dig in the Flower Bed, Ian, Gould Award.
Guilty.
A lovely sharp image, Ian. I love the interaction between you and the dog, and the fact that you've got down low as well. And in this image, even though there is all of that greenery around, because the lighting on the dog is so incredible, the greenery almost frames it and draws your attention right into this bright, beautiful eyes. Very well done. And I think you use the light very, very well in this image. Well done.
The Race is On, by Jacques Merit Award.
I am so glad that I'm putting this image, because this is, in my opinion, the best pet picture of the evening. It is absolutely outstanding. Jacques has obviously done panning with this. You can see by the water in the background, and he's got this dog pin sharp. There's detail. The exposure is so good. Focus is so good. It is such a beautiful image, Jacques. I'm not sure if it's your dog or whose dog it is, but whoever owns this dog, I'm sure would kill to have this image framed of their beautiful pet. Well done. Perhaps you would like to come and photograph my dogs for me, Jacques.
My Name is Luna by Paul, Gould Award.
Well done, Paul. I mean, those eyes are something else. Somebody said early on, the eye tells you everything. It captures the soul of the individual or the animal or the subject. In this case, you've done it. I think that you possibly could crop out a lot of the colors around that does compete with the cat. So the red cushion right behind it, I think is one thing, and then you have the green. So a tighter crop maybe could enhance it, and even I would even venture to say that a tighter crop on the body would make it a stronger image. But the eyes and the focus on the face is what does it for me. Well done.
Paul, if I could just suggest, your cat has such beautiful green eyes and you have that beautiful green couch. If you just took away that red cushion, this would be such a stunning image with just your black cat and its green eyes and the green background. So maybe if you photograph again, eliminate the bright red cushion.
Hug Me by Michelle, Gould Award.
Michelle, you're doing really great at these composites, and I have to say, when I saw this, I was like in shock. Do we have another breed of pug around? But you've done such a great job with this, and like perfectly so. You know, if you really did a good job. The background's great. There's incredible detail in everything. And yeah, I have to say that the composite is really well done. Well done.
Like
Really
it's
nice.
just, Michelle, what any photographer tries to do is to make the audience think about the image, and you've certainly succeeded with this. Certainly, I think all the judges foxed. Well done.
I spent ages with this one.
Pepper, 5-star, silver.
Oh, that's a pity. I actually really like this image because, just for starters, pitch black dog against that light background. So difficult not to blow the highlights and to get a detail in the blacks. So well done for that. I love that. What unfortunately distracted from the image is on the bottom right-hand corners, you've got, I don't know if you used a white vignette. I think you might have, and if you did, it's such a pity because what it did was actually draw the attention right away from that magnificent face with those beautiful eyes. And the eyes keep on going down to the bottom. Whereas a slightly darker vignette would have like given the effect of slight framing and would have pushed the eyes back towards the face. So just take this image and just try and work on those, on the corners, and instead of so light, try and darken them and you'll be surprised.
Trained jackal buzzard, 4-star, bronze award.
Yeah, well, it's a pity. The bird has a nice pose. It's action about to take place. Either it's landed or it's about to take off. Unfortunately, it is just totally out of focus. For the 4-star, I think you should be wary of submitting images like this.
Please can I have it? 2-star, silver.
A lovely dog again, and you've got this pin sharp, nice detail. I think the only thing in this image is obviously the background. The background is so much brighter than the dog that your eyes tend to be drawn to the background rather than to the actual dog. I'm not exactly sure how you would save this, but you know, Kathy's given some tips on how to change the background. And maybe if you just change this to a very plain background, you would achieve it. But it's such a lovely expression, the dog looking up at you, pin sharp, all of that detail in the mouth and the eyes and the fur. So I think it's really, really nice.
Kiss the Sun by Derek, Gould award.
Well, this is definitely the most artistic image of that. No, actually, Michelle, sorry. Yours was a very different kind of artistic, but this is clever. This is very, very clever. I'm not sure how Derek did this, whether he used a composite of a sunset and the dog, or whether he actually posed the dog like this, but I really love this image. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Well done.
Licking Her Chops by Henry, Gould award.
I think this is just one of those very pleasant images, and it's just got a softness and it's funny and really well done, Henry. And I think, you know, most people would never think of using a wide vignette around an image. But the fact that you left just like a little bit of the background visible, and you've got this wonderful rolling tongue and all of this interest in the image, and you just use this white vignette to draw the eye in. I think it was very clever, very, very artistic. Well done.
Thank you.
You sure made me laugh.
Piper by Julie, Merit Award.
Now,
Well, me to go?
no, it was me, but don't worry, you can,
No, go.
because it's such a pleasure to judge an image like this, isn't it, Henry? That's how you try to jump in. Julie, well done. I mean, this is just such an amazing photograph of your pet. I think you lay down flat on your stomach. I don't know how you got your dog to wait while you lay down and got your camera ready, and then you obviously recalled your dog and it came straight to you. And the intention is there, that willingness to come to you, that eagerness, that foot that's slightly lifted, that beautiful background. Such a lovely image, Julie. Oh, well done. I hope you've got lots of these, because I really love it.
Watchdog by Candace, Gould Award.
Well, this is a sort of signature of a Rottweiler. If you see any of the images that I've seen, that is what the Rottweilers look like. And having had one of these or a couple of these, I absolutely love them. I think in this case here, there's a couple of things that you could do to actually maybe just make it a little bit stronger. Above its left ear, there's a light trap there that you can tone down a bit, just take it out. And it might be argued whether the white spot on its chest can be toned down, but I find that that could, just darken it a little bit or crop it out completely, and then just make it stronger. But the expression on this dog's face, just saying, "Come on, try me." Well done.
Jingles by Julie, Gould Award.
Jingles is really, really a beautiful cat, Julie. And in this image, I have to say you got the face pin sharp, and even though you've left the body completely out of focus, it's really worked because you've left the whole body. It's really a lovely image. I love the fact that you went down. The perspective is really good. If anything, I think it's not necessary to have had a landscape crop. You could have probably used a portrait crop, and it would have eliminated a lot of the unnecessary background and would have greatly enhanced the image. But it's a beautiful image. Well done.
Just a Puppy and Its Teddy by Candace, Gould Award.
Well, this has got the oh shame, the oh cute, the oh factor that everybody feels with their pet at some stage or another. And Candace, you have just perfectly captured the softness and the vulnerability of these animals when they're young, whether it's a puppy or a kitten or whatever it is. They are so vulnerable, and they are so beautiful and so sweet. And that tiny little teddy bear, the way it's clutching it, it tells such a story. You wonder if it's missing its siblings or its mommy or whatever. But it tells a beautiful story, and I love it. Well done, Candace.
Alita and Piper, the Terrible Twins, 2-star, silver.
Sure. Okay. I like the actual format. I like the panoramic shot because it complements what you're trying to achieve here. So why not a higher mark in the silver? I think that you always be wary of amputation. So if you look at the dog on the left, you're amputating its hind leg. If it had been a darker leg, then maybe it wouldn't have been that obvious. That is the one problem. And then the background behind the black dog again competes with that particular face. But if anything, I think it may be that, well, the exposure was great and well handled in this. I think maybe it'll work on sharpening and enhance it, especially in the dog on the left-hand side. But the main thing for me was the background and the amputation of the leg.
Oh yes, I'm a good boy. 2-star, silver.
Also a really, really nice image. I love that face. Like Henry says, Rottweilers just have, or this Rottweiler just has this typical Rottweiler look. I think in this image, the background, once again, the very bright background is what's distracting. And the fact that you have that little bit of the amputated tail, it's also a bit, it takes your attention away. So to enhance this image, because you've got the nose really sharp, you've got the face really sharp, maybe the eyes could do with a little bit more sharpening, but maybe a much tighter crop, eliminating a lot of that background. Maybe just the face of this dog would actually improve this image. I'm not really sure, but I think you could probably play around with a few different crops and see what you can do to eliminate some of that background. Or once again, like Kathy said, backgrounds can be changed.
That was the last image.